Already back to the 3-minute content. I talk too much. So I have therapy with my trauma-informed therapist here in 19 minutes. So I'll try to get through this one and maybe another one. But I'll try to let you know when I'm done posting, because again, I really appreciate, I'm very flattered by the people who say that they look for my content constantly. So I'll try to keep you posted like when I'm actually doing it, when I'm done, so that you can stay out of the quicksand that is TikTok. So holy cow, I feel like just unbelievably loads lighter. We did it. Like, you guys helped me trauma narrative the story of my in-laws, and I'm sure that there will be times where I go back and talk about it. In fact, as I talk about my relationship with my husband, which is where I'm going next, I'm sure there will be many times that we go back into it, but I at least have told the story up until this point where we are still no contact for 16 or 17 weeks as of yesterday. And holy cow, the trolls? Oh my gosh, like, I can't even. So once upon a time, that stuff would have bothered me, especially since, like, I was bullied. I haven't felt like anyone liked me, like, pretty much my entire life. And I'm not playing the violins here. I don't need you in the comments to be like, but I like you, Bethany. It's like, thank you. I already feel tons of like from you guys. I'm more just saying that content, that trolling stuff once upon a time would have just obliterated me. But there's something about being at rock bottom, which I'll talk more about. Like, I'll get to the point where I just was like hugging myself on the floor bawling. Anyway, we'll get there. And when you come back out from it, it's just like, well, I don't know. Long story short, I don't care what anybody says anymore. And like my little quick troll bit that I did yesterday, all you do is like show me what you are, that you're an enabler. And so anyway, that's all I'm going to say about the trolls. Mostly just wanted to be like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe what people say. I can, it's TikTok, and I knew that was part of TikTok when I joined it, but still. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah, I did get the garage cleaned. I still haven't said anything of value. I'm so sorry. All right, let's do value. So I met my husband at a Christian university in Florida. I didn't go there to be a Christian, nothing against Christians. I just went there because I grew up in the Midwest where it's cold all the time. I wanted to move as far away as I could from my family, my small town where I was bullied, reinvent myself, and live in a place with palm trees where you didn't have to scrape the sludge off your vehicle before you pulled it in the garage, or have your eyeballs freeze in your face when you go on a dog walk. So I thought, hey, I'll just move to Florida, and Christian University, whatever, has palm trees on the pamphlet. I'll go to this place. Plus, this Christian University looks like they have a pharmacy program, which I don't know necessarily if I want to do that, but, sounds interesting because I like science and chemistry. My husband ended up in this South Florida town because his parents relocated there for a job. Briefly, to answer a question that someone just asked, my therapist is telehealth. Is it telehealth for a therapist? Anyway, it's virtual. I have a trauma-informed one on Mondays from 2 to 3, and then another one who right now we're focusing on parenting. That one is on Tuesday mornings. So my husband is from the Minnesota, Minneapolis area. He is the baby of his 3 siblings. So he has a sister who is 4 years older and 6 years older than him. Someone in the comment on my previous video before I went to therapy had brought up the fact that my husband is the youngest of 3, and my mother-in-law is absolutely obsessed with controlling my husband. I looked that up, and thank you. It's called I'm probably saying it wrong, the Jocasta complex, which sounds exactly like it. My therapists in the past have said that my mother-in-law sounds like she has an emotionally incestuous relationship with my husband, which once I heard more about that, it was like, without a doubt, that is what it is. The Jocasta mother has an unfulfilled adult relationship with her own and an over concern for her child instead. Absolutely it. But 16 years ago, all I saw was just this very adorable old lady. Back to my husband. His dad had a job change that took them from the Minneapolis area down to South Florida. He started up at the same Christian university as I was at. At this Christian university, you pretty much signed all of your rights away. It's a Christian university. They're allowed to say things like 0 tolerance for alcohol, 0 tolerance for marijuana, and the like. My husband and I met in this little underground group of people who liked to smoke pot together. We were friends for a while, several months. Is this boring? I'll see how this goes. Yeah, I don't know where to go with this next. My cheeks are red. Did my therapist dredge up some emotion? Maybe. Anyway, here's this super handsome guy. My husband's relatively a thirst trap. Tall, dark, handsome, even at 36. He's from the Midwest, where I'm from. Seems to be upper middle class, whereas I considered my family and I just middle class. Super funny. Everybody that we hang out with seems to like him and think he's hilarious. One day he invites me over to his parents' house. His parents were, I don't know where. So he was living with his parents in southern Florida. I was living in an apartment. I don't know where his parents were, but anyway, one day he invites me over to his parents' house where he's living with them to meet his dog. Meet the dog, and on the way home we have this really bizarre conversation that seemed bizarre at the time, but now with what I know seems even more bizarre. He told me that if I wasn't so opinionated and antagonistic, a lot more people. So this wasn't even a date, and the first kind of one-on-one hangout with Matt is in the car driving back from his house that he shares with his parents back to campus. He's telling me that if I wasn't so opinionated and loud, and he said antagonistic, I specifically remember he said antagonistic, that people would find me easier to get along with. I remember feeling absolutely stunned, shocked. I don't think I was responding. I think I was sitting in stunned silence while he drove us back up I-95. I can't remember how the night ended, whether he dropped me off at my house, if we went to a hangout with friends. Again, we weren't like dating at that point. It was like, it felt like it was something special between the two of us, but it wasn't like billed as a date. And we hadn't even really talked before that point about dating exclusively, other than just hanging out in our group of friends. And I have to be honest here, even though it's embarrassing, but it's part of the story, and I know like 10 of you in the flesh, and the other 45,000 of you could be robots for all I know. I'm joking, you're not robots. So honesty, here we go. This small group of friends that I'm trying to talk about to make me sound so cool is like an extremely, extremely small group of friends. Like one other girl and like 4 other guys. Because what girls smoke pot, especially at a Christian school? Very small niche. He also hung out with like a larger friend group, the preppy kids who did like intramural sports. What is that what it's called? I think intramural sports is what it's called. Did like soccer and stuff like that. I didn't. I have no team sport ability whatsoever, but I watched and he looked cool. I don't know. So who's the idiot who says yes when he asks to go on an actual date? Me, this idiot who was still kind of stunned and confused by the conversation in the car. I didn't even know what to label it as. What was that? Oh, sorry, for someone who I confused in my previous post, he was not 36 and living with his parents at the time that we were in college. He's 36 now. I was 21, he was 19 when we met at this Christian university. So immediately upon dating, he didn't want to hang out with any of the friend group anymore. We like ceased to see them. We saw them like at school functions, but as for like people coming over and hanging out at my apartment and smoking, that ceased to be. It was just me and him, which I thought, oh, that's so cute. He wants to just spend time with me. I'm struggling today. I said it in a few comments from my video yesterday, but I can easily identify now some of the things that my husband did to me early on in the relationship through therapy, but others, like the isolation, I epiphany like while I'm shooting it, like while I was doing the video. I had always felt that something wasn't right in my relationship because obviously I'll eventually talk about it, and if it hasn't become apparent already, my boyfriend who became my husband was extremely emotionally unavailable, like completely, to the point where there were no compliments, no hugs, no physical interaction unless we were like being intimate. But he was so great on the surface, like he's a great school teacher and everybody thinks he's awesome, and he's a really good dad to our girls. And then when I say things like that, now TikTok and Instagram are going to remind me that a good parent doesn't abuse the child's mother. But anyway, Matt has his family telling him how great he is. I've got my family telling me and Matt how great he is. I've got a litany of nuance and childhood issues going into adulthood going on. So obviously he's the great person and I'm the bad one. And actually I'm going to segue into a commenter, a troll. I don't want to address trolls, but this one really hit me. Someone in my comments keeps saying that there's no way this many people are abusing her, that she's just the poor little lost soul amidst a bunch of abusers. Are you sure it's not you, in other words? And I get that line of thinking. I've faced that with a past manager off the top of my head. I understand that line of thinking, but in my situation, that type of thinking is what led to me being yoked like livestock and abused for 37 years. Sure, it may have been a soup of an insane situation where I grew up in a very, 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 very small town of 800 people in I'll refrain from saying cult, well, I just said it, type church, in a home of a dad who'd been raised by a narcissist and a mom who had some trauma of her own. I was the second born of 4. My siblings are great people fulfilling their birth order. So I hear you, troll, but in my case, yeah, I'm going to stand by the fact that yeah, pretty much everyone in my life saw this opportunity that I could be abused as a people pleaser and they took advantage of it. And I'm scared for people in my position that don't realize it. But I'm struggling today, back to my original intent, because after I did have, the epiphany of isolation and stuff like that, I talked to my husband about it last night. And I don't really want to jump into present day yet, because I like giving the context before I get to present day. He's very apologetic. He acknowledges that treatment was bad, but he's very quick to give rationale. And I'm trying to navigate this territory of allowing him to give reason while also not letting it just be like blame shift. So for example, when I brought up the conversation in the car before we were even dating, where he called me antagonistic and opinionated, he said, I remember that I did that and it was bad. I shouldn't have done that. But I wonder maybe what you did during that visit to cause me to think that. I was like, you're right. My memory doesn't have that. But as shocked and blown away as I do remember, I physically, viscerally remember the feeling of just being so shocked and taken aback. And just my demeanor at the time of doing anything to be liked by anyone. Like the pathetic little human I was. I don't think that I had done anything that would result in you being able to say those things to me. When I brought up the isolation, he said, I hear you, but I didn't see it that way. I just wanted to spend time with you. And the other guys in our little underground friend group had expressed interest in you as well. And so I felt competition and wanted to pull you away. And I was like, the other guys no, they didn't say that. Oh, you just didn't know that. So I'm trying to navigate this. I don't want to shut him out. People are allowed to give rationale, but my trauma bond struggles with where the line is. So I'm jumping around a lot, sorry, but even though I knew from the start pretty much that things just didn't feel quite right in our relationship, everybody thought he was so great. I'm not popular at all, never have been in my whole life. I'm weird, I have no friends, and so, why would I believe myself over this guy? Long story short, because I can't remember my aim, early on in one of my first videos, I think they're called Vent 1, 2, and 3, I detail how I came to the horrifying realization and then couldn't unsee it because it was so clear. that my husband either is a covert narcissist himself or has an intense amount of covert narc traits. Vow to self to never make a video after 6 hours of sleep and fighting with my husband. Hopefully I can be more cheerful today. Or is it just a front and I'm dissociating? We'll never know. Even I don't know, so. This stuff bores me, or I'm just not ready to do it yet, so we're gonna try to fly through the rest here of just my assessment and realization of stuff that my husband did that was either covert narcissistic traits, or I slightly looked into narcissistically defended. Side note, it wasn't clear to me if someone who's narcissistically defended can also be an asshole. I don't know where I'm going with this. I listened to my posts yesterday and I sound totally like I'm playing the victim, or I'm just going off troll comments that say, you allow yourself to be abused or stuff like that. I don't know. And I hear that. You're right. If I had been a whole lot more confident about who I was, or had tools and a whole lot more emotional availability from those around me, sure, I may have grown up to be a really well-rounded human, but that's not what happened. This is all over the place. I'm sorry. Can you tell I didn't plan it? So the first 2 months or so of the relationship with my husband were great. I mean, aside from the car stuff and the isolation, he was just like this perfect person. He liked everything that I liked. He liked the music I liked, the shows that I liked. He liked to go and do the things that I liked to do. He just was like, he was perfect. He was like, he was me in male form. Now I know that that's narcissistic mirroring. It was a blissful 2 months. It was great. Saw each other all the time. I was skipping classes a huge amount just with this sudden obsession to hang out with him. Finally, I have found my soulmate. And then that was all over. Suddenly, this extremely loving, embracing, cuddling. I was going to say be nice, but I only remember 2 compliments from him ever, and that was I like your shoulders and I like your lips. That's it. Anyway, I don't know. I think he was nice. Why would I date him otherwise? Anywho. And so then I'm in this cycle of trying to win him back or do anything that could make him like me. I've even talked to him just even the last couple, last night and the night before, essentially recently, just being like, my whole life has been, you aren't happy. You're not happy. I need to do this better. I need to do that better. If I was just doing all of the perfectly right things, finally you'll like me. Maybe if I stop wearing the things he doesn't like capri pants, fine, I'll stop wearing capri pants. Oh, suddenly he doesn't like Coldplay? I don't really like Coldplay that much more either. Or is that just conditioning from him telling me that they suck? I'll change the stuff that I do and I watch, and maybe he'll like me, finally. So in our relationship, when I was just I would have these breakthrough moments where I was like, I'm better than this, not better than him, but just, we don't click. So maybe this is my signal that there's someone out there that's a better fit for me. So, I'm gonna break up with this guy. And I have vivid memories of being in my Florida apartment where I went to pharmacy school, and him being like, well, good luck with that, because no one will ever put up with you like I do. Your emotions are like this. You're extremely an emotionally labile person. You're weird. No one would love you like I do. And I'm going to hug that person for a moment, because all that stuff was hard to hear, because I believed it. I hate that I believed it. And so I stayed. In addition to the marijuana that we were smoking, he was also intensely addicted to video games. Video games with his friends came before me, which I rationalized as, well, I have to study for my pharmacy stuff anyway. And he was playing video games before he met me, and so I'm not going to come into this relationship and be like, you have to change everything that you do. You used to play video games. You can't play video games now that you're with me. So I kind of rationalized the fact that he played hours and hours of video games as, again, well, no, that's not a big deal. I have to study anyway. Maybe that's why I was on the dean's list in pharmacy school, because I had all these hours to study because no one wanted to hang out with me. Now I'm playing the violins again. How do I not play the victim and talk about this? Anyway, obsession with video games that I just was, I mean, that was his life before me. I'm not going to make him change, I guess. So after I would do these, I'm going to break up with you. And then he would, no one will love you for about like a couple days. It wouldn't meet a week, 2 days. He'd be nicer. He'd show me a little bit more, just like normal displays of affection, just a hug when he comes over to my house to hang out. Or I'm trying to think of nice things. I felt very much second to his relationship with his mom, especially, and his sisters next, and then his dad. Again, I normalized that, and maybe it is normal. I don't know. I normalized that because I'm just his girlfriend, similar to the video games. I'm new to his life. I'm not going to come in and demand that he change what his priorities are for me. This sounds so pathetic. I mean, not pathetic. I'm more like going into the mind of that girl right now and just being like, oh, you poor neglected thing with childhood trauma. Oh, Jesus. Because I'm very sad. I'm very sad for that past Bethany. This was all so cheesy for me to do, so hokey, so corny. When I started with my trauma-informed therapist, and even my new therapist who right now we're focusing on my switch from authoritarian parenting to gentle parenting, blah, blah, blah. He also has me do this thing where I'm like, let's sit in the space with that Bethany and feel those feels. How corny, but I do it, and it sucks, but it feels like the right thing to do because no one was doing that for me then. No one was sitting with me feeling. Anyway, had to pause for a moment. Just feeling some feels. I'm sad for that person. As I talk about this, it's like, what the hell? If I imagine my daughters in a relationship and that's going on with the guy, I'll be there with my U-Haul tomorrow. I don't have a U-Haul, I meant rent it. But he has a good family, right? His mom seems so nice. His sisters are so quintessential American, beautiful older sisters that, I really want them to like me. I don't really have any close female relationships, and here's some beautiful older sisters, and so I feel like I just wanted the whole family thing. I had a family. I still talk to my family, so the 10 humans I do know and my followers, I love my family, but I'm not going to try to pull the wool over anymore on the fact that I'm tangenting again, but my mom read books to me. My mom told me she loved me every single night. I had all basic needs, but looking back, it took therapy to realize how extremely emotionally unavailable my parents were and the behaviors and mechanisms that led in my personality. Where were we? I don't know. You either? We would go on occasional breaks. I would try to do things to mess up. Like if I can't break up with you, if it's not working for me to say I want this to be done, maybe I can drive you to break up with me. So I made out with a fellow guy in pharmacy school, told Matt all about it just to make him angry. Sea trolls? I'm aware that I'm a shithead. I'm aware I'm not perfect. That didn't really work. Matt said something like, I put too much time and effort into you. I'm not giving you up now. So then I'd show him texts from guys that wanted to take me on dates. Me being a dick. I know. I'd have little spikes in my eating disorders, just things I look back on now as a way to, well, fine, hopefully you'll break up with me then. I should really use my stuff, like the mic. I know the audio of these when I just hold my cell phone in my hand sitting on the couch isn't that great. In this time frame, I now know in retrospect, just because of things that Matt's told me, that his family would be saying things about me being not good enough for him, that I was a bit too opinionated. That makes me think of a commenter who said if he's saying things to you, it might be his mom. Anyway, yeah, that I was opinionated, that I was a little too brash. He said that his oldest sister, too, I don't think he said his middle sister did. She was just never around. Middle sister was never around. She was always in another state living her life, which good for her. I plan to do that soon. But anyway, I guess oldest sister-in-law would also have comments about my personality and just whether I was the right fit for Matt. I wish he'd listened, because no, we weren't the right fit. Wish we would have broke up. I walk across the stage, get my pharmacy doctorate. We leave Florida and move back to the Midwest, move back to Minnesota. In true enmeshed, obligated fashion, we see where my parents live on the map in Iowa. We see where his mom and dad live on the map in Minnesota. Because, sorry if that wasn't clear, they were doing a snowbird thing in Florida and Minnesota. We see where both our families are living. We look at a map and we put a dot right in the center, and that's where we live, because enmeshment is a lifestyle. I start managing a pharmacy in a town called Mankato, Minnesota. He decides that my income is nice enough that he doesn't have to get a job. I'd say, please, can you get a job? And he would literally say to me, well, with the luxury of your income, I'm not really feeling a whole lot of urgency to do so. I started picking up extra shifts, floating to pharmacies in the city. Briefly, what that means is there's an open shift and you just drive there, even if you don't normally work at that pharmacy. I started sometimes having stretches where I was working 17, 18 days in a row just to avoid being around him. Nice way to face the problem head on, right? My eating disorder starts to pick up. He uses it as a way to tell me, look how crazy you are. Look how absolutely off the handle you are. You're so out of control, not stable. I see a doctor for anxiety, get prescribed Xanax, actually Ativan, sorry, and start using it in ways that I'm not supposed to. So now I'm really, really unstable. So now he and his family can super duper hold unstable over my head. Last one for today. I gotta get back to work one-on-one with my boss. So to clarify, my husband had his teaching license when we moved to Mankato and I was managing the pharmacy, but we had moved there in September of 2012, and so the school year had already started. I still thought it was appropriate for him to get a job, like any job. I'm not going to look down at your salary. I don't care what you make. I would just like the commiseration, I don't know, that's not the right word there, but of leaving the house and just working. No one's laying on the couch and playing video games. So not that I'm trying to soften anyone's view of Matt not having a job, but just wanted to be fair that kind of technically he couldn't really apply for a teaching position because school had already started, like the school year for a district. Still, I thought he could just do something else. And also to clarify, we weren't married at this point. We didn't have children at this point in September of 2012. He proposes on Halloween of 2012, so pretty much like a month and a half later. When he proposed, I felt panic absolutely overtake my body. I tried to buy time. It's something that we've joked about over the years with ourselves, with friends and family, but I view it completely differently now. So when he proposed, I asked him at least 6, maybe not quite 10 times, "Are you sure?" while my body absolutely panicked. Looking back, I now view that as me essentially asking myself, "Are you sure? Are you sure, Bethany?" And I'm also sad for that Bethany who was asking, "Are you sure?" because maybe I was viewing the "are you sure?" and that's why we've joked about it with family and friends. Like, I was asking Matt, "Are you sure you want to be with this crazy woman? This really has a lot of stuff going on, problems. Both families, think that you're a saint for even dating her, and oh my gosh, you want to marry her?" So that was kind of how we joked it. But again, looking back, it's like, I feel like I was maybe asking myself that, "Are you sure?" We had a 9-week engagement. I didn't plan any part of it except buying a dress, which I took my mother-in-law to instead of my own mother, just as, I don't know, trying to get approval. I'll maybe go into detail some other time about, my mother-in-law and the guest list and just where my wedding was at and that weirdness. But for now, I got married. One of the last days, December 29th, 2012. Why I married a guy without a job who was a jerk to me, I don't know. I saw what someone commented just on my last one, so I'll answer that quick. So he had signed up to sub through some sort of system that let you know of openings in the area. That led to further tension between us because I would be at work in the morning and I'd pull up this subsystem and see things available. And I can't remember if I'd text or later be like, so could you have picked up any of those shifts? Well, by the time I woke up, it was too late. So essentially just like, are you even trying? Are you even trying? So we're married and he seems happy. I'm miserable. I'm working my 40-hour week, which is more than 40 hours, as you probably can gather when you're the pharmacist in charge at a pharmacy. And in addition, I'm picking up shifts in cities at pharmacies that I can float to. The beginning of 2013 is kind of a blur. I go back to the same doctor who prescribed me the Ativan and get some amitriptyline as well. I'm starting to have pain symptoms, and this doctor also puts me on gabapentin. Who was this guy in retrospect? My substance abuse and eating disorders probably were total calls for attention, but they're both pretty out of control. The job prayer is somewhat answered when in summer of 2013, Matt lands a job for the fall with his elementary ed degree. However, at this point, the limited physical contact that we did have, intimacy, is now no longer a thing. So he's emotionally unavailable, and he also is rejecting me physically. I just go further into that hole. I find out years later that at this point, his parents have sat him down and are telling him that I'm obviously a mess, and you, Matt, are so much better than that. He gives me an ultimatum in August: pick me or your Ativan, which is what I was using incorrectly the most. Totally joking, but I wish I would have said I picked the Ativan. Joking. I take an emergency week off from work, and on Wednesday, August 21st of 2013, I leave the house alone to drive up to a substance abuse center in northern Minnesota. On the way there, I get cold feet and stay with a friend in Minneapolis instead. I feel pretty at rock bottom, like no clue what I'm doing with my life. Turn off my phone. Don't tell anyone where I am. And I just I'm under the assumption that while my phone's off, they'll just assume I'm at rehab, like I said I was going to, and that my phone's off. August 22nd and August 23rd pass. On Saturday, August 24th, I turn on my phone. It explodes with notifications. The one that comes across the top first is from Facebook, someone giving me condolences that my brother is dead.